So today is lesson 5. We're leading into our Thanksgiving long weekend. Excuse me. So today is largely about customization. At the end of class last week, we used the Visual Studio scaffolding tool. We built some controllers and views. So we kind of had some working web pages and code that were auto-generated for us. So what we want to do today is look at how do we take all that auto-generated code and then start to customize it to improve how it functions, to improve how it looks, and also just to kind of make it more polished and more of a professional, complete product. So we're going to do some of that stuff today. We're also going to implement the ability to include file uploads, so that when we are adding products to our store, when we're adding pets to the store, we can include photos of those pets. We're going to do some sorting. And then we're also going to deploy the store to Azure using GitHub. So let's open up our pet store. I've already got mine open. So if you want to open up your project in Visual Studio, and we can launch the web server with our usual start without debugging. I'm going to try to talk a little bit quieter. I notice I've kind of been losing my voice in class this week. So if I'm not talking loudly enough, please let me know. But you may need to nudge your volume up a little bit. So here's where we left off last week. Right, we recreated our categories controller that also came with a series of views so that we could perform create, read, update, and delete operations. So we made both a categories controller and a pets controller, and we used the scaffold tools that are built into Visual Studio. I'm going to close up some stuff here. So we also had pets. So let's think about it as we look at this page. It's functional. Could you see how could we improve this? Maybe let's make a little list. Just fire up a little Word document here. So what could we do to improve this page? It is functional. What changes should we make to make it better? Okay, yeah, so the page title index, we'll want to change that. Thanks, Tushar. Okay, definitely. How else can we improve this page? Okay, we could change the link to a button. If we have time, we may do that. Yep. What else should we do? So imagine we want to show this page to the owner of Positive Pets who's paying us for this website. Are we going to show them the page like this, or are we going to do some other things to it before we show them our work? Okay, so Tushar's made a few useful suggestions. I'd like to hear from some other people. Okay, we will restrict access to Tushar. Yes, not today. We'll do that starting next week. We'll deal with security, but it's a good suggestion. Just a bit beyond the scope of today. What else can we do with this to improve this page? Just gonna shut my door here. Okay, we might want to display the photo. Yep. What about the order of all the pets? So I'm going to go and add a pet here. So I'm going to go and add a new pet. Right, so there's no, so what order are these being displayed in right now? Yeah, that's right, Jordan. It's in the order they're created. It's basically by the ID. So as this page gets big, this is going to become pretty unwieldy. So we want sorting. What about the price? What about those price values? Yeah, we should be formatting the price. Currency. Yep. Okay, so let's make some of these changes. We're also going to want to eventually, towards the end of class, start to customize the look and design of the site. And there's a number of ways we can do that. So let's make a bunch of these changes here on the pets index. Some of these changes will be made in the view directly. Some of them we're going to have to make in the controller, and others we're going to have to make in the model. So we're going to be touching the pet views, models, and controller. So let's start with our pets, our views pets index. So we've got this page title here that's on line 4 and on line 7. It just takes the name of the view. Well, index is kind of a useless name. So let's change this both on line 4 and on line 7. We'll change both of those headings. So now they say pets. So we've taken care of our page title here. We'll just strike through that. We'll come to the photo display a little later. Let's add the sorting next. So as Jordan pointed out, this list is just going to be displayed in the order they were created. So basically by the pet ID. What would be a better default sorting? How should the pet list be displayed instead of just in the order they were created? What would be the most user-friendly way to display the data? We could, yeah, I would say name or category. So maybe we'll make the default. We're actually going to add the functionality to sort by any. Okay, we can do it that way. Maybe what we'll do, Fatima, that's a good idea. Why don't we make the category the first column, and then we can sort first by category and then by pet name. So first, we're going to go back into the view. I want to move the category column. Right now, it's last. I'm going to drag it to be the first column. So I'm going to move the heading. So the category is now the first heading. And then inside our for each loop, I'm going to do the same thing with the table data, the TD, the table cell, that also has our category name. So I'm going to make that the first column as well. Now, we haven't fixed the sorting yet, but we're just modifying the display. So category is now our first column instead of our sixth column. Okay, so first we get category, we've got name. Now we need to make a change. These are still in order of pet ID. So let's order these first by category. Once that's working, we'll then order by name. So where do you suppose we would do that? Where would we go to make that change? Doesn't look like we can make that change in the view file because this is just presenting the data, right? The querying of the data is not happening here. So which file will we need to go to so that we can add some sorting on our query results? Right, so we're going to go to our pets controller. My file's already open. If yours isn't, it's under your controllers and pets controller. And here on line 23, here's our index method. So what happens here? Our database connection, this is our context object. And we declared this pets DB set in here last week. So this is querying and fetching all of the pet data from the pet table. And it also is including the parent category. So we can actually chain on another method into this query. We can say order by we want to order by the category name. So the P just represents our data set, our results from our query. So we're going to order those alphabetically by category. So before, I think we had birds, then rodents, then dogs. By adding this order by on line 25, the list should now sort birds, dogs, rodents. We'll go back to the browser and check it out. Yep, so now we get birds, dogs, rodents. So we're sorting the query. Now let's see, I want to add another pet. I'm going to add another dog here. So I'm going to add another dog, and we'll see where this one shows up in our list. So your data, you can add whatever data you like. You don't have to put in the same values that I do. But you create another dog. Whoops. So now we've got our two dogs here in the middle. So our sorting is first by category. This is alphabetical, but the problem is after, within a category, it's now just by the name. So even though, so LU is showing up before LA. And as Fatima suggested, we'd want to sort first by category and then by the name of the pet. So we can modify our query a little more to add that second column for the sorting. So I'm going to go back to my controller method on line 25. First, we're going to order by the category name. We can then use this method, then by. Then we will order by the pet name. So here's our complete order by clause. First by the category name, and then by the name of the pet, which I think is what Fatima was suggesting. Alphabetical, but by category. So we've now chained on a then by method, and there's no limit to how many then bys we can have. There is also an order by descending or then by descending if you want to sort in the reverse direction. So now our page reloads, and within dogs, lashes comes before Luna. So our data is presented in a more useful way here. A lot easier to read. Now, there's still one more thing we can and should do regarding our data sorting. And that is to add functionality kind of like this. So here we've got a table of data. And typically, in web tables, when we're presenting data tables, typically our column headings are usually links. So when we click on a column heading, we're sorting by that column. We click it once, it sorts in one direction. We click it again, it sorts the other direction. So we've all seen this before, and there's some visual indicator of which column is the current sort. So we can actually implement this functionality as well using a bit of JavaScript. In fact, we're going to use the same JavaScript. If you were in my PHP section, we used a JavaScript library, an open source library. We added it into our PHP application. We can actually use that same JavaScript library. And this is going to make our column headings clickable so that we can then sort by any column. So there's a link on Blackboard in the lesson 5 folder. There's a link to sorttable.js. To open that up. There's the direct link. Some of you may remember this. We did use this in the winter semester. So how does it work? Here's a basic HTML table that is not sorted. And by adding this JavaScript to the page, it automatically makes all our column headings clickable, gives us a little up-down arrow, and resorts the HTML, which is kind of neat. And then in the middle of this, under this example, there's 3 simple steps. Number 1, download the library. We're going to do that. Number 2, include the library in a script tag. And then add the class of sortable onto any HTML table tag. So let's try this out. So step one is where it says download the library. So I'm just going to right click that link in orange and choose save link as. I'm going to save it into my positive pets. You can see the path in my address bar. And then inside of www root, we've got a JS folder. So we've already got a site.js. So I'm going to save it in here. So we're going to download that JavaScript file, add it to our project. Again, it's inside of your web project folder, the www root, and JS folder. So I'll click save. So step one is done. Step two, obviously, if we're going to add a JavaScript file to the project, we need to link to it. Because until we add a script tag, that file is not going to be used. So where do you think it would make the most sense to include this file? Where should we write this script tag in our project? We've got a couple of options. So we want to use this JavaScript so we can sort data in our tables. So here's my file that I just downloaded. Yeah, that's right, Tushar. Tushar, why should we put it in the layout file? We could put it directly in the pets index, but I think the layout file makes more sense in views shared. How come? Why would it maybe make more sense to put it in the layout file? You got it, Ralph, because then we could use it on any page. So if we want to use this same script anywhere else in the site, it's already available. So I'm just going to put in a comment. So yes, table sorting from. So I'm just going to, this is not our script, so I'm going to put in a link to where it came from. So our source, whoops. So it's going to be our JS folder, and there's our sort table.js. So we should make a reference where the script came from, give credit to the developer, and then we're linking. And this tilde character means we're always going to start back in the root path. To get to the script. So now we've done two of the three steps. Step one was download the JavaScript file. Step two was link to it using an HTML script tag. Step three is simply going to be adding a class definition to our table. So on line 12 of our pets index view, we've got table class equals table. So here, if we just add the class of sortable, notice there's only one T in the class name. The JavaScript file has two T's. It's called sort table, but the actual class definition is sortable. So we're going to add the sortable class to our pets index into the table. And now, like magic, we can click and sort on any column. Cool. So this is functional now. It's still missing one thing. What's missing from this functionality. Mostly works, but what's the difference, for example, here and on our pet store? Right, the hover. So we've got the sorting, but there's no cue to the user. That's right, Cold. The user doesn't necessarily know, they might try to click one of these, but we should set the hover on these column headings. We don't really need to set it on photo because it doesn't really make any sense that somebody is going to sort by the photo. But these 5 are all sortable. So we're going to make a few changes here. I'm just going to hard code in. So our first heading, ahref equals. We're just going to kind of make these dead links. And that will just be whoops, sorry. We'll just hard code the link names, the category names. So our first column heading will say category. And now it looks like a link. We'll just do the same thing with the other ones. We've got category, we've got name. I'm going to make the first 5 columns links. The photo, we're going to make it so that it's not even clickable. It shouldn't show as a link. Age. And lastly, we've got price. So now all of these are links. We don't even really need a column heading that says photo. I'm just going to take that out. The photo, when there's photos there, they're pretty self-explanatory. So we don't need a heading here. Just like, now the only weird thing is if I click, notice it still is doing this. So we can get rid of this. We'll just add one thing in. So where we had photo, I'll just add this. Class equals sort table, no sort. That should get rid of that little kind of invisible link. So there's our photo class. It's got sortable underscore no sort. Oh, wait, maybe I have it wrong. I think there's maybe an underscore here. I think I missed the underscore. Sortable underscore, no sort. I'll put it back. Who's going to check? Yeah, that works. Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Jordan. So now the users, we've set out a default sort order that makes a lot more sense. Category and then name. But then the user can sort the pets by any column that they want just by clicking. I want to see prices, pets, most expensive to cheapest. I can just click on the price column and see that. I want to see oldest to youngest. I can click on age. The color, right? We want to sort. I want something that is blue, so or green. So I can just click on color. And then we also want to deal with the price. Oh, yes. Thank you, Tushar. We should add that. I didn't realize that. Good catch. So let's also add this class equals no sort to our final column heading here so that we can't click above the edit details and delete. Nice catch, Tushar. Good spotting. So we also want to format our prices as currency. Excuse me. Now we could do it in here. So here's the price down on line 51. We could add currency formatting right here, but I think there's a more efficient way for us to do this. If we actually format the price as currency in the pet model, then it will also format the price here or here. So we can add a global formatting to the price property. And then all three of these views will render it as currency. So let's go to our Solution Explorer. And in our models, if we open up the pet model, and come down to the price, we can add a display format. And we'll set this. We're going to format it as a string using Microsoft. Microsoft has these kind of weird syntax for some different formats, like date formatting or time or currency. So we have 0, which represents the value we're formatting, and C means currency. So this is going to format the price as dollars and cents. It also uses the web server's regional settings. So because we're in Canada, it will format this with a $sign and two decimal places. If we were in China, it would use the Chinese currency symbol. If we were in Europe, it would use the euro symbol, for example. So this should automatically update the price formatting on the index, on the details, and the delete, all three of them. Let's check it out. So now you'll notice our price is formatted as currency on the index, currency on the details view, as well as on the delete confirmation page. It's not formatted as currency when we're editing because it's going to ignore that symbol when we're modifying the decimal number. Right? It's a display format. So whenever the price is displayed read-only in HTML, it's going to use currency. So these are the kinds of changes that you would be expected to make in your assignment from the scaffolded controllers and views. You're going to get functional pages with working code, but you'll want to make these kinds of changes to improve the functionality, the usability, or the appearance. Okay, so we've made changes in the model, in the controller method, and in the view itself in order to get some of the output that we want. It's too short. It's data format string. So rather than date format string, notice there's an A, that's an A, not an E. That's just a small typo. Okay, so we've added sorting and formatting our price as currency. So now we could start to set up, this will lead into our next part of class, but we want to start to set up the photo. Before we do want the photos to display here, but before we can display the photos, we're going to have to make some changes when we are adding or editing. So what will we have to do when we're adding or editing a pet? Yeah, we're going to have to change this input, which just defaults to a text box. We're going to have to change that to a file upload. So we can start working on this now. We'll do it first in create, and then we can do it in edit as well. So in our Solution Explorer, let's open up the Pets Create view. So under Views, Pets, we've got Create. So let's make a few changes here. I think we're going to want, 4 changes. The first is, just like on our index, the title just says Create. We're not going to create a pet. We'll say add a pet. And I can take out line 9, where I've got this H4 tag here that's sort of useless. I'll just take it out. So we fixed up the page title and page heading. We're going to make an addition on line 12 and also an addition on line 41. So here's our form. As you may remember from our PHP class, whenever our form is going to process a file upload, we have to add a special attribute to the HTML form tag, which is encoding type equals multi-part form data. So add this to the form tag you've got on line 12. If we don't add this, then any file uploads, they're just going to get ignored. So if we want users to be able to upload something from their device to the web server, that file has to be converted to binary, and the binary gets uploaded to the server and then reconstituted back into the original file type. But that process doesn't happen if we don't have this encoding multi-part form data. So add that on line 12, and then scoot down to line 41. Sorry, it's line 40. I think I can show both lines. Right here, yep, down at the bottom. Here's our input. So the default is just a single line text box. So we need to add something in on line 40. What should we add here to convert this from a text box to an upload control? We can keep the code that's here. We just want to add on to it. So we need to add a new HTML attribute. Thank you. Okay. So we're going to set a type equals. What input type do we want to use? Thanks, Ralph. Right. We want to set this to a file input type. It's not a text box. It's going to be a file upload box. So add that type equals file attribute. We worked with this in our PHP class. You may have worked with it in your HTML fundamentals class. And we'll go back and have a look at what this gives us. So now our titles say add a pet, and our text box has been converted to file dialog box. Perfect. Now, I actually have some images that I grabbed from unsplash.com, some royalty-free images that you can download. So in your lesson 5 folder, there's this item here that's called, it says store images, source unsplash.com. This is a zip file. If you download and open up the zip, I've got a few different pets here. And I've also got a placeholder image that we can show if we have a pet where we don't have an actual photo. We can use this as a placeholder instead, like a default image. So just download this anywhere on your computer to your downloads folder, and you can open up the zip file. And you should have these same images that you see here. So we're going to make similar changes to our edit. So we're going to have to we're going to have to modify this input as well on our edit view. But the code for saving an image, it's going to be the same code regardless of whether we're adding a pet or updating an existing record. So it will make sense for us to write that code just as a function. And we can then call that file upload function both from create and edit, rather than repeating all the same logic twice. So we'll start setting that up. It'll take us a little while to do. The first thing we need to do, if we're going to actually process an upload, is we'll need a place to actually save the image into our web project. So we're going to create a couple of folders here. In our Solution Explorer, under www root, this is where we've got front-end assets like style sheets and script libraries, favicon. I'm going to right-click my www root folder, and I'm going to add a new folder. And I'm going to call this folder IMG. So now inside of www root, I've got an images folder. Now this images folder will have two purposes. It will be for our site-wide images, like we'll maybe put maybe create a logo, and it will go in here. But then we want a subfolder inside of here for all of the uploaded photos of the pets. So I'm going to make one new folder now inside of IMG. So I'll just repeat that process. I'll now right-click IMG. I'm going to add a new folder again, and I'll just call this pets. Excuse me. So the root IMG is just for any images we want to show in the site, and we'll keep all of the pet images in their own separate subfolder. So those are separate from any other images, icons, or anything else that we display in the site. So now we're going to need to write the code that will actually process a file upload and save it into the IMG www root IMG pets folder. So where in our project would we go? What file would we be adding the code to so that we can upload and save those photos? Where are we going to write the logic to upload pet images? Would it be in a view? Would it be in a controller? Would it be in a model? Tushar is right. So in the pets controller, we already have the logic here for creating a new pet or editing an existing pet. So both of these methods will need to upload. If there is an image, we'll need to upload. So what we'll do here is I'm going to create, maybe I'll put it down on line, I'm going to go to line 47, right above the pets create. I'm going to create a private static function that returns a string called upload photo. And this method is going to take one parameter, which is type iFormFile. So this method will take a photo in, and it's going to return back a string. Now I get a couple of errors when I do this. When I mouse over iFormFile, Visual Studio says, can't find this type or namespace. Are you missing a directive or reference? We are, so I'll just click the little suggestion box, and it suggests we make a reference to Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.HTTP. So this iFormFile object is part of the .NET Core HTTP library. So I'll just click on that. This goes away. This other error will come to it. The code in this method for processing the file upload, it's a little bit involved. So I think we'll take a break here. I'm going to push what I've got so far up to GitHub. We'll take a break, and then we'll continue on with our file upload when we come back. I'm going to push right now on the index customizations. Okay, so everything is up on Git right now. If you need to reference anything, we will take a 10-minute break here. And then we'll come back and we'll work on being able to upload and then display the pet photos. See you back in 10. I need to step away for a bit.